Hi everyone, this is the third video in my process of learning the story of Lazarus from John 11. So I thought I'd show you the next part, which is about going through the text and really getting my head around it. Now that I've worked on the text in a format that I can read well. I've been listening to the text of a recording that I did a while back, and just every day listening to it a couple of times. And now I'm going to sit down with the text and start fleshing it out, start getting a sense of the structure of it, what's happening, and the goal is so that I can tell the story in a summary version, right? I'm still not focusing on the individual words. I'm focusing on getting a big sense of the story, so hopefully that helps. Okay. So here we go. Just got it on. So I've printed out the passage, and now I'm just going to broadly give sections categories. As you can see here, I've already given some underlines. But our first section is Now a man named Lazarus was sick. He was from Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. This Mary, whose brother Lazarus now lay sick, was the same one who poured perfume on the Lord and wiped his feet with her hair. So the sisters sent word to Jesus, "Lord, the one you love is sick." Okay, so this is really the intro to the story, right? Sets the scene. Now a man named Lazarus is sick. We've got an introduction of a character, we've got a place, and we've got two other characters, Mary and her sister Martha. Right, the village of, so the link is, now a man named Lazarus was sick. He was from Bethany. So we've got from Lazarus goes to Bethany, and then Bethany, this explains Bethany, that's the village of Mary and her sister Martha. And then it links from then it links from Mary, so that's an important thing, to this Mary, whose brother Lazarus now lay sick, which is sort of just a copying of that, was the same one who poured perfume on the Lord and wiped his feet with her hair, which interestingly actually comes in chapter 12. So this is sort of retrospective, going, the story that I'm about to tell in a later chapter? Well, this Mary is that Mary. So this is all description of the characters. And then, so the sisters sent word for Jesus, "Lord, the one you love is sick." So this is some action, right? So we've got setting a scene, information, right? This is all sort of spreading out. This is the opening premise of the story, information about that, and then some action. So the sisters sent word. This is our nice verb that tells us something's happening. Sent word to Jesus, "Lord, the one you love is sick." Right, so even now I can cover that up and I can go, well, okay, it opens with setting the scene about Lazarus and he's sick, and then it describes where Lazarus is from. That's Bethany, and who's in Bethany? That's the home of Mary and Martha. And then it goes on to describe Mary as she's the one who poured perfume on his hair and did something else. Perfume on him and what is it? Wiped his feet with her hair. Poured perfume on the Lord and wiped his feet on her hair. So there's two details that I already stumbled on, so I got to work out a way of remembering that. And then what did they do? They sent word to Jesus, "Lord, the one you love is sick." Right? So if I was learning this, I might actually draw little prompts for some of the action. So he was in, man named Lazarus was sick. Okay, there's Lazarus. He's sick. And he's from Bethany. All right, he's in Bethany, and that's a village. There's a little village of Mary and Martha. All right, Mary and Martha. You can really see that a bit. Mary and Martha, there we go, hopefully. And Mary and Martha, and now, here we go. Oh, try and move my camera a bit over. There. Mary and Martha, and this Mary, whose brother lay sick, Lazarus now lay sick, was the same one who, she did two things. Poured perfume, and I like the alliteration there, that'll make it easier to help. Poured perfume, PP, and she wiped his feet with his hair. Right? WH. Wiped, poured perfume, wiped, we can't forget feet, so WFH. So you might go, I draw a little thing of pouring perfume there, and wiping his feet with her hair. So there we go, we got to get some feet and wiping it with her hair. Now that's a pretty distinct image of someone wiping feet with hair, so hopefully that'll stick in my head. And then the last thing is, so the sisters, there's the characters again, the sisters, sent word to Jesus. We've got a new character, woohoo! And the message is, Lord, the one you love is sick. So here's a little message, Lord, the one you love is sick. All right, so there's my working on this start of the passage. So I cover it up, and I think, how much can I say? Now there was a man named Lazarus who was sick. He was from Bethany, the home of Mary and Martha. And Mary was, whose brother Lazarus now lay sick, was the one who, can you remember it? Who poured perfume on the Lord and wiped his feet with her hair. And so the sisters sent Jesus a message, Lord, the one you love is sick. Let's see how we went. Now, a man named Lazarus was sick. Yep. Now, a man named Lazarus was sick. He was from Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. I think I've missed the sister aspect, I think. Mary and her sister Martha. This Mary, whose brother Lazarus now lay sick, was the same one, that phrase I missed, same one who poured perfume on the Lord and wiped his feet with her hair. So it was the same one. So this is sort of the point of that, going, she's the same. So I might just, she's the same one who poured perfume on the Lord and wipe his feet with her hair. So the sisters, because of this, the sisters sent word to Jesus, Lord, the one you love is sick. All right, now this is me going in a bit of detail. I didn't really intend on doing that, but sometimes I'm sort of just inspired to. But there we go. So we got intro. The most important thing is let's get our broad categories. Intro. Then, when he heard this, Jesus said, this sickness will not end in death. No, it is for God's glory, so that God's Son may be glorified through it. Now we've got here Jesus' response. All right, so we've got the intro. We've got the sent word. So we've got intro here. Then we've got what the sisters did. They sent word and Jesus' response, but these are in two different locations, right? And then it goes on to describing Jesus and what he does. Now, Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. So when he heard that Lazarus was sick, he stayed where he was 2 more days. A very interesting little factoid there. He deliberately stays and lets Lazarus die. And then he said to his disciples, let's go back to Judea. Okay? And so then it's almost like this is its own little section. So Jesus waits, maybe? And then he speaks to his disciples. Let's go back to Judea. But Rabbi, they said, a short while you're going to go back. And then he says this weird little paragraph, which is going to be tricky to learn because it's not as obvious what it means, but that's all right. So that's a conversation with disciples. All right, let's see where that goes to. Next page, page 2. After you'd said it, he went on to tell. Okay, so the conversation's still happening. Lord, if he sleeps, he'll get better. They've been speaking of his death, right? And then he told them plainly, Lazarus is dead. And then Thomas says, let us go with him, right? So there's this whole conversation goes down to this point. And it's a bit of backward and forward, right? So sometimes when I do a bit of a scene with back and forward, I might color code it, get a highlighter to say where Jesus' words are, where the others are. And that helps me get my head around that. I'll just pause and I'll get a highlighter. All right, back. Got my highlighters. So this is Jesus. And then Jesus. And the good thing about doing highlighting for the conversation is it sort of gives you an indication of how much people speak. All right, so that's how sort of the conversation between Jesus and them. Put that aside. Jesus. All right, and then. Right, and then there's the disciples, and there's the disciples. Now what that shows you is there's some commentary. See the bits that aren't highlighted? There's some narration. But here's the conversation. See, so you got Jesus, them, big thing from Jesus, and Jesus, them, then Jesus, and them. Right? Back and forward. And then they arrive. On his arrival, Jesus found that he'd been in the tomb for 4 days. Now, Bethany was less than 2 miles, and many Jews had come. So another sort of setting the scene. Even this whole section is sort of an intro or setting scene for the new location. I don't know if that helps. All right. So on his arrival, he found that Lazarus had been in the tomb 4 days. Now, Bethany was less than 2 miles from Jerusalem. So you've got this sort of setting the scene. Then Mary heard, she comes out to meet him. So we got Mary, action with Mary. And then this is the conversation with Mary, right? So here's sort of where it begins. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went out to meet him, but Mary stayed at home. Martha. So Martha's scene. All right, she goes out to Jesus. And they have their backward and forward, right? And you could color code that as well. Where Jesus says the awesome, I am the resurrection and the life. The next scene is, after she said this, she went back and talked to Mary. So now it's Martha and Mary. And then another little intro to the scene. And when Mary reached the place where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet. So now you've got the sort of scenes with Mary and Jesus. All right. Now, I won't go through it in all detail, but what you're seeing I'm doing is I'm sort of calling these different sections, and so getting my head around the different sort of parts. And over time, what I'll do is I'll learn. I won't be focusing so much on learning the individual words. I'm learning these sections, right? So I go, okay, so there's an intro, sets the scene, and then, so if I can just cover up this, then I can sort of tell you, okay, sent word. Then the sisters send word to Jesus. Jesus responds. How does he respond? He responds by saying that, I'm trying to remember. He responds just by saying, Lazarus, what does he say? This sickness will not end in death, for it's God's glory. Okay, that's important. I'll think about how to remember that. But Jesus waits, and then there's a conversation with the disciples about going after the 2 days. Waiting, that conversation keeps going, right down to here. Then they go, sets the scene in the new place. Martha comes out, talks to him, and then Martha goes back and talks to Mary. And then Mary comes out and talks to Jesus, and it continues on to the great resurrection scene. So this is the process I'm going to go through. And as I go through each, so I'm going to do a nice broad thing. So I've got, I get the flow of the narrative, and I can generally want to be able to tell each of these sections just by looking at the heading. And the more I keep listening to it and keep saying it out loud, the more I'll know the phrases of those sections. It'll become more and more familiar, even without sitting down and learning each individual word. But when I'm trying to learn each section in more detail, this is what I'll do. I'll start going through, and now a man named Lazarus was sick. Now a man named Lazarus was sick. He was from Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. He was from Bethany, the village of his... the village of Mary and her sister Martha. This Mary, and so my head's slowly getting it soaking in, not from a minute out, not from word for word out, but from broad in. So it's like I'm painting a picture, doing broad strokes, broad, and then as I'm filling in detail slowly until my last process is actually looking at it word for word and trying to get that down. But like a painter doing tiny little detail. So, but at this stage, I'm still wanting to get the broad sense of the story, the narrative, and letting that soak in. And this has helped, this process helps me break up the text. So that's why I've called this text section breaking up the text. Break up the text so that I'm understanding the flow of the narrative, letting that soak in, and I'm remembering it based on these chapters, not just based on the words individually. So there you go. Hopefully it was a bit of a longer one today, but hopefully that helped you in your preparation as well. See ya.